And I guess we've got audio. So
Yep.
we'll do this as quickly and painlessly as possible. So these are the new racks, the Accu-Rack System from Accu. If you've got a nice pocket on your case, you can fit it in there. And if you don't, the packaging actually comes with an eyelet in it, so you can add something like this to where you can hang it off your case. I've got to adjust this with small pockets, so I usually hang it off on the lanyard. But basically the tube does more than just protect them. It also trains them because they're put in a specific way. You'll always want to put them back in their sheet protectors. You'll always want to roll them face up. So what that does is when you pull them out, they have a propensity to lay flat. They are laser cut. They are susceptible to heat as far as causing them to curl. So if they're not stored like this, you may have some issues. Some more things about the racks. They're not plastic, they're polyester. If you wad one up, it's not a big deal. Even if you crease it badly, you can actually take a steam iron to them and get them to lay back flat. Now what we have is the 9, the 10, and the 8 ball versions. The 9 and the 10 are probably the easiest to deal with. Based on the geometry of the cutouts in the rack and the properties of the material creating friction, basically all that has to happen is that you build the rack from the one back, let the balls fall into their gaps, let the last 3 balls push the 9 up into the others. Touch the balls up and everything's frozen. Now, if you end up with a gap, the best thing to do is to push the rack forward, because what it will do is it'll catch on the edges of the troughs, and that will give the balls friction so that you can slide them up against each other. Now that works with the geometry. When you get these, you'll notice the geometry. Now when you slide them forward, they're bringing them together. Yeah, so that's basically the joy of the 9 ball. With the material not being plastic, you're going to find out that the 9 ball break is not quite as dead as everybody leads you to believe. With the friction on the rack, you're actually going to get rotation on the balls coming out of the rack like you're breaking on cloth. You're going to find out that wing ball is only dead if you hit it right and find the right speed. So that's the 9 ball. That as simple as it gets. The 10 ball's really not much different. It's just a different shape. I was going to do a combo, but in dealing with the combos, we didn't like the extra material trailing out behind the 9 ball rack, so we did away with that idea and decided just to do 3 templates instead of 2. The same thing here. You're going to build the outside, move your 10 in, then you're going to use your back row to pull the 10 in. Once again, if you've got a gap, you push them forward a hair. As you push them forward, the geometry pulls them together. So we've got a 10 ball rack, no gaps, ready to move on. The last one's probably the hardest one for anybody to get, simply because nobody's used to pushing the racks forward. I mean, you do that with a regular rack, so I mean it's really no different, but it's not intuitive when you're using a template. What's happening on all these is when I first set the ball down, it's going to roll downhill, because that's the way it's designed. It wants to roll everything towards the center, but when there's no weight pushing back, it's going to roll everything too far, and that's going to lead to gaps on the back row and maybe even the 4th row. So basically with the 8 ball rack, I can get the 1 ball in its hole. With the 8 ball rack, we're going to build the rack from the front, just like we did on the others. When the 4th row goes in, we're going to go ahead and give it just a little push forward to get it back up towards the top end of the gap on the 1. And then that's going to leave us room to get in the last row. Now what you're going to see here, once I get the last row in, is there are gaps all over the place back through here. And that's just a function of the way the balls work as far as, you know, going into the rack. What happens though is when you reach back here and you push everything forward and then let the rack settle, you're going to see that your gaps are going to disappear. Now, one thing, and I had a golf ball around here, one thing to consider is sometimes you're going to have a set that's got a really bad ball in it, and nothing you can do is going to want to make that ball freeze. Well, on the ends of the 8-ball rack, you can actually take your finger, pull the material forward, and you can freeze basically any size ball. It's just, like I said, you need to wait till you're on the final row, and now you've got an 8-ball rack that has no gaps. One of the things about 8-ball that nobody really gets is that 8-ball is a whole lot harder to break than people really think. When you start to get racks of balls that are totally frozen, you're going to find out that the bottom corner pockets don't usually get a ball unless you can go 4 rails with it. Everything's about making them in the sides and the upper 2 pockets. There's not much else to say. I appreciate any feedback from any of the folks that have gotten the demo racks from us, and I'll be doing another, I guess, how-to with these, probably at the US Open. It'll be with a little bit better camera work and a little bit better lighting. But thanks.